people that haven't been bullied are like, oh, no, that's too much. People that have been bullied are like, go Carrie. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you ask like why this movie like resonates with me so much, it's both that it's really just really well done. It's like actually scary and well shot and well acted, and but it's also, it's a high school experience that I think a lot of us have.
Welcome to Horror Movie Survival Guide, Disco Citizens, the podcast where gorehounds
And best friends, Teri Gamble,
and Julia Marchesi break down a different horror movie each week,
exploring a multitude of genres, subgenres,
and subgenres,
classic and cult,
international,
and underground flicks alike, determining which films are the goriest,
and offering up Horror Movie Survival Guide tips
to help you stay alive.
Welcome to Horror Movie Survival Guide, Disco Citizens. I am Julia.
And I'm Teri.
And
oh
this
my
week
goodness.
we are talking to another guest that we are so excited to have here. SEAN Ableey is a writer, producer, director who has a rich history in theater, yes, including many, many original scripts. And he also created Plays to Order, a service that creates new plays for high school and community groups. I'm so excited to talk about this based on their specific needs.
I love that. And then as a screenwriter for TV and film, oh my goodness, Sean has written for So Weird on the Disney Channel, one of the iconic shows, Sabrina, the animated series on ABC, MegaBabies, and Digimon, which I didn't realize about the Digimon till later. I like am fangirling a little bit already about that. It's like, incredible. On Fox Family. His film work includes Ropeburn, which he wrote for Moving in Pictures, Witchcraft, 15, Blood, Rose, Witchcraft 16, Hollywood Coven, and the award-winning gay sci-fi film, Socket.
And a staff
Suck
writing
It to
job
Me.
on You Don't Know Jack, the CD-ROM series, which I played and loved, allowed him to move to LA, where he began working as a reality TV producer and writer. And he wrote the Gay of the Dead blog for Fangoria for several years. And his interviews have been collected in a book, Out in the Dark. He is also the co-editor of Queer Horror, a film guide. We have so much to talk about. Sean, welcome to Horror Movie Survival Guide.
Oh my gosh, you guys have done
Yay!
so much homework. I love it.
Well,
We do. We
yes,
take notes, copious notes. Do you see all these
we
notes?
got notebooks. We're
I,
nerds. Like
It's
oh my
like,
just like
gosh.
I have my stuff here. We're hanging out. We're ready.
this is about horror
Handwritten.
high. This is the whole, like, we're doing it
Oh,
top to bottom.
I love it. I love it. You mentioned You Don't Know Jack, and I know we're going to sort of jump backwards, but I have to relate this story because you mentioned it in the intro.
Okay.
So I got that You Don't Know Jack writing job in Chicago, where I was living at the time and doing theater, and it was the most money I'd ever made in my life. It was $500 a
Woo!
week, right? I felt like I was Rockefeller.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, it got me to Los Angeles. And when I moved to Los Angeles, it was like the hot game. Like it was the thing that was happening. If it was on your resume, it was like a big deal. And everybody was playing it at parties. And so I'd go to these parties and pretend that I didn't know what the game was and I didn't know what the
Nice.
questions
Oh, you
were.
were a
And then just
ringer.
like,
You're a
oh,
hustler.
everybody. Yes. Yes.
Every single answer. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let us roll the time back. Roll it back to your childhood when film and horror, separately or together, entered your life.
It's interesting. I was just listening to Dr. Heather Petrocelli's episode,
Mm.
Yes.
and they and I have been chatting, since we're both kind of traveling the same road right now as, academic. I would call myself a semi-academic. They're absolutely an academic in the horror world, but the way they expressed it was really great. And I encourage people to go listen to what they were saying about how they figured it out. I'm sort of in the same boat. I don't know if you discover it. I think it's actually in your DNA. I've really tried to drill down on this question because all of
Mm-hmm.
us are interviewed on podcasts, each other's podcasts and stuff, and get asked this question on panels and things, and I really think it was just there. Just waiting to be like unlocked by, for me, parents who were great, and well, no, they weren't great parents. Sorry. They were actually terrible parents. But in this one of two categories, they were pretty good. One of them was the horror thing. My dad was a science fiction nerd. My mom was totally into horror. And so I got to watch anything I wanted. I got to read anything I wanted when I was a kid. So yeah, it was sort of always there. And when I really was like purposefully seeking it out, it was at the hands of my parents again, like taking me to the drive-in to see double bills of Food of the Gods and Empire of the Ants when I was
Nice.
probably like 8 or 10. Like they'd bring me in my pajamas because they know inevitably they thought I would fall asleep by the end, and of course,
Oh,
I
and you
watched the
were
whole thing.
awake.
I was
Mhm.
awake. Death Race 2000.
Nice.
Watched the whole thing. Yeah, it was available on television. The movie we're going to talk about today was something I saw on TV a ton of times,
Oh, wow.
and I remember as a kid, I would cut out the ads for movies in the newspaper and the ones in the TV guide for like the movie of the week horror movies and glue them to construction paper. And I had books and books of these things. And of course, they're gone, in my mini
No.
moves, they're gone. And I look at, Michael Gingold has all of these books out that are basically like the science fiction and horror version of that, of exactly that, like all those ads that he collected. And I just think, oh, if only I'd kept them. But yeah,
We're
I was
making like
just,
that was like Pinterest before Pinterest, kids. Like, that's like what that sounds like, just like making your little I don't know, that's
yes.
incredible.
I know for kids today, that's probably like grandpa was
Yeah.
carving on cave walls. But yeah, just having that, and I was a voracious reader, and so my world, I connected to all this stuff like through Famous Monsters magazine,
Hmm.
and books that I would. My mom was like a book of the month club person, and so we would have much like the Scholastic books when I was even younger. You get the order
Yep.
form once a month, and you go through and pick. So yeah, I grew up in Montana, and that was my I don't know, connection to a community that eventually I realized that I really needed when I got older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when
Is
you
that
were
Incredible.
when you yeah, when you were little, like, you were was horror a part of your identity? When did it really take hold of you?
um 100%. Like I I was never more happy than when I was either reading Famous Monsters magazine or reading Stephen King way too early. I have something coming out, an essay coming out, maybe even today, about how I read The Long Walk at 13, but that was like my fourth Stephen King book by that point. Like I was
Wow.
just in it.
Yeah,
You and Julia
same.
both
So,
on that one, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that was all I wanted to do. Honestly, that was all I wanted to do. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write books like the books that I found because I just thought that was so cool that you could write a book and then people all over the world would be informed, like learn through your book. And I wanted to do that. And then I wanted to be a special effects guy. There's a book called Movie Magic by John Brosnan, and it has all the different. I think it even has a picture of like a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie in it, but it's
Oh,
also
Hmm.
cool.
all these practical effects. And I would spend my days when I was really little. I would go outside and dig a hole in the dirt and save all the dirt in a pile and then set up like Green Army men and Fisher Price people and cars and everything like in that in houses like in that hole, and then slowly push the dirt over it like it was lava. And of course, if you were listening at the time, I'm sure I was narrating what was happening, right? Like, and then that changed to as I got a little older. There's this game. I grew up in the era of games that were like a toy, basically, like Mousetrap or
Hmm.
Ants in the Pants or Don't Spill the Beans. Like they had like these toy components to it. And this one game, I don't remember what it was called, but you had to move a ping pong ball on a stream of air through an obstacle course. And that stream of air was created by basically a blow dryer without the heat, right? Like
Okay.
this little like wind thing. And I would, with construction paper, build houses. All the walls were separate and the roof was separate and each little tile was separate and cars and trees and things like that. I'd set them all up precariously, and then I would get that
Destruction.
air making machine and blow it down as if there were a hurricane and just like
Yes.
watch all the tiles fly off and the roof fly off and like it was a tornado or something.
This reminds
And
me,
so
like, when John Water talks about his childhood and how he played Car Crash and stuff, and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I this checks. This
Well,
this
also,
tracks."
like,
one.
Like, I watch
100%.
I watch The Fablemans, I feel like that's what Spielberg like, same thing. You guys you know what I mean, though? Like, he, like, made his own little, like, destruction, like, stuff like that out there. I mean, like, you if you love cinema and you see it, you see the magic trick, you wanna figure out how to make the magic, right? And you
Right.
do your
Yeah.
own version of the magic trick, and I think that's what it is. Like, I always
And
like, people are like, "Why do you still do
Spielberg's
this?"
the
I'm like, "I still love the magic."
yeah,
Mhm.
Spielberg's the
Yeah.
vanilla version, John Waters is the kink version, and then you're in there
Yeah.
Right.
somewhere between.
You're right. The John Waters' essay, "Why I Love Violence," is formative for me because it really explains why it's not that you enjoy like people being killed, but what you sort of do enjoy is that like endorphin rush from witnessing it. And I remember he had a picture in that in the original book, Crackpot, uh, where or it might have actually been in Shock Treatment, one of the two, where it's a picture of like a scaffolding that people were sitting on watching a concert or something, and it's mid topple, like
Ugh.
it's headed toward the ground,
Yeah.
as an example of like that, like, ugh. Yeah, I don't know what it says about me,
I like
but
you,
I
I
think
like
Says
John
you're
Waters.
human.
I
It
think
says
it's
you're
I
a
yeah.
think it's
human.
cool.
Yeah. So I think that healthily translated to like watching horror movies, right? The horror movies didn't affect me. They didn't make me want to do stuff. They gave me a place where I could channel all that into like as an observer and sort of a passive participant at times.
And can you think of the first horror movie you watched that really, really terrified you?
Yeah. Uh, i- i- at home, it could have been Horror High and or also Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Okay.
Um, those really scared me. The Omen. So I'm a child of HBO. I lived a
Mhm.
life before HBO, and then I lived this magical life after HBO started. Right. So all of
Mhm.
these movies, R-rated movies, I could just watch at home. And of course, my mom was like, "Yes, let's get popcorn and watch The Omen." And so
Incredible.
yeah, The Omen scared me. It really scared me, but mostly because I thought my brothers could be possessed by the devil. And
Oh,
I would literally
Oh!
like check
How many siblings do you have, Sean?
2 brothers younger.
And where do you fall? Okay, so you're the oldest. Okay.
Mhm,
what
mhm,
about them
yeah.
made you feel like they might be possessed?
Yeah. I'm curious.
Well, it's actually not anything that they did. It's the scary part is it could happen to you without you wanting it to happen, if that
Right.
makes
Mhm.
sense. Like, Damien didn't have a choice in it. So, that to me was the scariest, like those possession type movies. The thing about Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things and Horror High is they're both really well done. Like they're legit scary, and if I watch them late at night by myself, I just did a rewatch of Horror High, so we can talk about it today.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I mean they're legitimately, like PG-13 scary movies.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's probably the earliest ones that I remember that actually scared me. Oh no, you know what scared me the most? So my dad had a copy of the or Origins of the Superheroes. Jules Pfeiffer wrote a book, and I'm going to get the title wrong. It's either like the Origins of the Great Superheroes, the Great Origins of the Superheroes, and it came out in the year I was born, I think 1966. So we had it in the house for years, and I read it pre third grade. I'm remembering where I lived at the time when I recount this story. And it had that first issue of Batman that's also introduced the Joker. And if you remember,
Ooh.
the Joker's introduction in Batman was the plot of the first film, which is he kills people and they die with this big smile on their face.
Yeah.
And that image in that comic book, I had literal nightmares where the Joker was like trying to kill me in them. So I guess maybe it's
Wow.
not a movie that scared me. It was a
Wow.
comic book.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Wow.
So tell
Yeah.
us about your you go into theater right now. So you
Mhm.
start. So you go to high school, you go to college. When you come out, then we get this amazing community and structural theater stuff. Can you talk to us about that? Because we're both big theater. We majored in theater. I went to performing arts high school and was in a community theater group when I was a kid. So I'm into it.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was a theater kid. I remember, and it was mixed in with horror movies. I remember, I wanted to be in horror movies, and I remember saying to my dad, and I would say this over and over again, like, if I was in an R-rated horror movie, could I go see it on the opening night? Like, that was my,
Uh-huh.
Oh, what
and
a
they
bargain.
never, right, they never killed kids in horror movies, but I wanted to die in a horror movie. So like Burnt Offerings was awesome because they killed the kid, and
Mhm.
Spiders, a Deadly Cargo, they killed the kid, and I was very excited by those things. And I just kept bringing it up so often that my dad said, "I don't want to hear any more about you being in a horror movie till you go be in a play or go or do some acting." I'm like,
Ah,
Okay.
"All right," and I just headed to the community theater,
you said
and I,
deal. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. So I went to the community theater, and that was like my, other than horror, in my room, like reading the magazines and reading the letters columns and publishing my little fanzines that I would trade. The community theater was my first real safe space. And I look back on that now. I, I, I'm getting a little choked up thinking about this. Um,
Oh.
they really did see me. I mean, this is Helena, Montana in the like 70s
Mhm.
and 80s, and they saw who I was, and it was okay. And I remember people talking, like some adult, a part of the theater, had came back from a trip to New York, and they'd seen Torch Song Trilogy, and they were just not having that play. And I knew, like, I never had any struggles with being gay. Like, I knew from the
Mhm.
minute I could know, and I just knew that I had to wait to get out of Helena, Montana. I wasn't
Mhm.
tortured by it. But that Grant Street Theater, Helena, Montana, where I would eventually go back to direct years later, um,
Wow.
really did like see who I was and let me be who I was. And I spent every minute at that place until I went off to college. Yeah. And
That's
then I
so
went to college
cool.
and an undergrad in drama, my dance minor.
Nice. What kind of dance were
Excuse
you
me?
into?
Yeah.
Well, we had a great teacher named Joe Good who has a company in San Francisco, or at least he did at the time. This is in University of Montana. We got this guy, and he did modern dance, and he was really amazing. And so I was doing that, but also it was more to be in the musicals. And
Okay.
so I was like, they discovered I could sing, and they discovered I could dance, and so I was in all the musicals. In fact, we did I think the first licensed college production of A Chorus Line when they released the rights in like
Wow.
Wow.
1987 or something.
Who did you play?
Bobby,
Yes.
if Troy Donahue could be a
A
movie
movie
star.
star.
Yeah,
Yes,
my
and I could be
pipes
a
are
movie star.
rusty.
All of this and you can
Incredible.
sing too? This is incredible.
Well, I have better examples of
Well, I mean,
that.
No,
for
that's
like horror and
not
musicals
a
are my two favorite genres, right? So I feel like they go hand in hand, and I feel like you get a horror musical, and that's the sweet spot.
Yes, I
yeah.
wrote one. So
Did you
that's
tell us
the
about it?
it's called Horror High, and it's
Aha!
all of those classic like Universal monsters as teenagers in high school. It
Yes.
does
Oh,
pretty well out there. Yeah, I mean, it was well before a certain company's Monster High.
Which I
Uh,
still delightful, very cute.
also delightful,
Mhm.
just not first. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to be an actor for a long time, but I was always sort of writing at the same time. I wrote my first play when I was 16,
wow.
and I realized really quickly in my undergrad that, first of all, I was a D student in high school. I barely got out of high school. And looking back, of course, it's like learning disabilities and everything that people are so excited to sign on to today. Um, but I realized I was terrible at anything that I didn't want to do, if that makes
Mm.
Mhm.
sense. Like I did not have the like
Yes.
focus to do math. And so I treated my undergrad as a conservatory, and I just took every theater class, scene design, costume design, sound design, acting, stage management. I just
Things
did
you were
all
excited
of it.
about. That's what
Yeah,
college is for.
yeah.
Yes.
And I was doing summer stock, getting, hired, paid money to do plays, um and then after 4 years I quit. I was done. I was like, I'm going to move to Chicago and be in Second City because I'd heard that people on Saturday Night Live were in Second City. So I'm like,
Yeah.
there was a really great book about it,
Yep.
and I read that book. And I'm like, I'm going to go. And I literally had one of my advisors say, you'll be back.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, never went back. Yeah, and that's what got me to Chicago. I just decided to go, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. I just
So
like
what
packed
where
my stuff.
where was the switch that was flipped that you were like community theater all of a sudden there was just like left turn into Chicago?
When I was at University of Montana, I wanted to be an actor, but I don't know if this is smart or if I was just being a chicken. But I knew that New York and Los Angeles should not be my first stop, uh, because I didn't know anybody, and I didn't know how to like literally even get to Los Angeles. Just and Chicago, I knew had a theater scene. I knew it had Second City, and really that's why I went to Chicago. Like I
Hmm.
flew out there once before I even moved there to audition for Second City, not knowing what a fool's errand that was. Because somehow I got into an audition for Second City without even like being around. But yeah, that was it. It was really was Second City, and then I got there and spent. So at this point, I'm like 21. I spent a lot of time like taking improv classes and going to shows at Second City and doing all the stuff they told you that you had to do to get in Second City, which was like kiss ass and make friends with the producers and try just doing
Yep.
all that stuff. And it became very obvious pretty quickly. I got there in '88. Uh, Within a few years, that wasn't going to work out for me. I had an improv teacher who sat me down after an audition, which I had nailed for Second City, and just
Hmm.
point blank told me that I wasn't going to get in because I read too gay,
I was
and I
gonna
wasn't.
ask if that's what it was because I feel like
Yeah.
every one of those schools, they only can have one. If you can have it now, it's like now you can have one.
Hmm.
It's still difficult.
Yeah, and I knew
I
that
know,
one.
Julia. Yeah,
I knew that one back then,
yeah,
and his brother had already been in. And Second City was very
yep,
much about like lineage, right? Like bringing
Right.
yep.
in. So that is when I started writing plays, and through that is when I founded the Factory Theater with some friends, that was 1991, and so I did a production of Ted V. Mikels' Corpse Grinders. I got the rights to Corpse Grinders and
Cool.
did a
Wow.
stage version of it. And
Nice.
yeah, and it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. I just like found the guy and wrote him, and he said yes, and we had an agreement, and he approved the script, and that was that. It was terrible. It was terrible. So bad. I went back to the script recently because I thought I'll just publish this, and no, it's gonna stay in a drawer. Uh, my
Ah.
boyfriend at the time was directing it, and it was like so fraught and just it was a terrible experience. Um, but it, but I learned how to do it, and so from that, I did Reefer Madness, a stage version of that, well before the musical, and from that company, we formed the Factory Theater, and it's celebrated its 30 something anniversary this year.
That's so
Um,
Wow.
cool.
yeah, so I lived in the theater for 2 years, like literally in the basement of the theater. We carved out a little studio apartment for me, and so like I lived next. It was the
When you
dressing
say you
rooms.
live, eat, and breathe theater, you
Yeah,
mean it. You mean
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That sounds
yeah.
like a dream to me, honestly. Living in a theater's
Yeah.
basement, like that sounds like it. Yes, please
You
give it to
know,
me.
You'd be okay with the
yeah,
basement if it was in a theater, Julia?
Yeah, yeah. I love basements, but
Oh, that's
I
right.
don't
You like
like
those groovy
caves.
70s basements. You don't like caves. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's
caves. What is it about a cave?
Like, because you can get crushed real
Oh,
easy and like it's dark and you don't know what's down there and it's all,
sure.
getting stuck.
yeah,
Right.
It's the
Few
descent.
few caves have running water that
yeah,
comes from a faucet.
yeah, yeah. True. So
Yeah.
then you're doing theater and then you do another switcheroo again, hard left into now you're gonna move to LA and do something
Mhm.
totally different. I love this about your life. It's just I like to watch you follow your dream.
New
It's so
adventures.
cool.
I'm a self-starter, it's true. And I attribute that to a couple different things. One, my most likely undiagnosed ADHD is that I can't stay still for long. And if somebody isn't giving me something to do, then I make something for myself to do. Um, and I have enough focus to make that be about career type stuff. And so, I got the job in Chicago, like I said, on You Don't Know Jack, made decent money for the first time in my life. I was almost 30 when I got that job. Had been in Chicago for almost 10 years, and had some savings and got a Christmas bonus, and tried to organize the shop to be a Writers Guild shop, because I eventually wanted to write sitcoms. And the president of the company is like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I
That's
want to get
so
my Writers Guild
brilliant.
card, so when I move to Los Angeles, I can write sitcoms." And he's like, "Well, I know an agent. I went to school with him. Let me introduce you to him in Los
Wow.
Angeles." This was, of course, his way of getting me out of there, right?
Mhm.
And he introduced me
You
to my
didn't
first
unionize the
agent.
shop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
and that got me. Those connections got me. Those connections, that money, got me to Los Angeles, where I spent several years basically doing what I was doing on You Don't Know Jack, which is like writing game shows,
Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
which was fun. Um, and
And something that
yeah,
people don't really think about a lot, right? Like game shows need to have writers, but of course they do, right? Not only
yeah,
you
Like
have
a
the
ton of
oh,
them. Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
The rejection rate for even the like most cursory game show is huge. It's like 10 to 1, you know. I remember I was working on the dating game as a producer and a writer, and we had to come up with questions for these contestants, and I would hand in 50 questions, and the executive producers was like, "Nope, nope, 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 nope," and like tick off 90% of them. Like it's a grind. And yeah, you
Wow.
have there's a lot of writing in reality television that people, I guess they're kind of hip to it now, but people didn't realize
Mhm.
for a long time that a lot of that takes actual writers.
And then you go from writing this to writing plays to writing game shows, and then you also have co-edited and written this book, Queer Horror. So we
Mhm.
really want to talk about that as well.
This book, I have
Oh,
it
do you
Yeah,
have
right
a
the one
copy you
here.
could
hanging out by
show
your
us right
cat.
now?
Sandwich
Well, I
Plug
by
it
have.
up.
sandwich.
Yeah.
For those on Spotify, I'm holding the book. It just happened to be right next to me here in my
Uh,
bedroom.
uh,
Uh, you, my kitten, not my. This is my game show model who's helping
oh
me
my
as
god.
well.
Oh,
Yes. Little
very nice.
Vanna. Yes.
Yeah, this book. It's funny because you can reach all the way back to my childhood, because uh, one of the books that I ordered from my mom's, book of the month club was the Science Fiction Encyclopedia, also known as the Encyclopedia of Science Fiction if you're in Britain. I don't know why there's two different names, but it
Because we love to do
was,
that.
yeah, it was was it 700 or 900 pages, and 3 columns of print that is teeny tiny, and it was literally everything science fiction. It was authors, it was movies, it was stories,
Wow.
it was novellas, it was characters, it was artists, genres, everything, and fanzines, magazines. And I read that book with its teeny tiny type, 900 or so pages, cover to cover, multiple times. Could not get enough of it. And I had somebody ask me recently, like, did you always want to write queer horror film guide? Or what was the question? It was more like, when did you know that it was going to happen? And I was like, always. I
Mm.
just assumed back then, when I was 13 years old or so, that one day I would write that book, and then I did.
Wow.
Well, of course,
Wow.
that book
Wow.
is not written by one person, and this book was not written by one person. There was 8 of us, hardworking writers, including my co-editor. But yeah, I chipped away at this for 9 years, um, because I both knew that we needed something like this, and also it's just such a weird fetish, I guess. I I like writing reference books. Is that weird? Is it like I'm
No.
driven
No.
to write reference books?
As folks who love to go through and catalog and take notes, and honestly, we love a list. Julia's
Mhm.
like queen of lists. It's
It's
I don't know
true.
if
Mm,
now I'm gonna let you know that now. Like she's always been a list person since I've met
mhm.
you. Julia's like feeling seen right now. I can see it. Senior list.
I
I
love
know
it.
you, but no, but she's a reference queen. And like anytime there's like a research section in a movie or a library section in a movie, that's kind of our thing. We get very
Mhm.
excited. Like
Microfiche
Party Girl, one of my
especially.
favorite things, microfiche, anything that has to deal with like
Ugh,
cataloging. Like,
ugh,
no, yeah, so we get it. If
I
anyone's gonna
love
get
it.
it, you found the right people. We
I,
love a reference, but I love that you wanted to make the ultimate guide, right? Our
yeah.
show is called Horror Movie Survival Guide, so we do understand a little bit as far as wanting to catalog something.
You like a guide. Well,
We
then
do.
then you might be excited to know that the Book of Lists was also one of my huge influences as a kid. Have you read the Book of
yes.
Lists?
Yes, that's a great book.
Yep.
Mhm.
I got the original, again, all this stuff happened when I was a preteen. And I wrote to them. I wrote to the editors of the Book of Lists. It was like, you need a young person on your staff to write lists for young
Oh,
people.
They
And I got the
did.
fortunate.
Yes.
sweetest rejection letter from them. They were taking they would take suggestions for lists and they would let people write a list, but they weren't going to like bring
Mhm.
somebody like me on to
A
write for
staff
the book.
writer.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I love research, and I didn't realize how much I loved research until I got into my MFA program and I had to write my thesis. Because I dropped out of my undergrad. Like I said, I was a terrible student. I'd never written a scholarly paper. Like, what the like, what am I doing here? I literally typed into Google, like, how to write a scholarly paper.
Yeah.
And learned just the apps. Like, I understand why people are in grad school forever. Like, I get it. I just love to research stuff. And so this book was like the perfect, like, I don't know, all of those things coming together. Yeah.
What was your thesis about?
So I despise the play Taming of the Shrew. And
Ooh.
and I don't buy the the angle that it was done with a wink back then. I know that that's how we have to do it now, but
Mhm.
I don't buy that that's what happened back then. And so my thesis, I got an MFA in playwriting. Uh, I had to write a play and write a paper about it. So I wrote a play called Kate Untamed, which
Mm.
is a complete deconstruction of Taming of the Shrew in a way that takes white, straight, cisgender male playwrights to task, including myself, and and it was an attempt to release the character of Kate from the cage that that character is in the play.
That's
And
amazing. We're
yeah,
both big
and
Shakespeare nerds, so you're speaking our
oh,
language here.
good.
Mhm.
Well, the end of the play is through all these machinations of like going through the play and breaking it apart. The playwright appears as a character, and it's a two-hander, and both actors use their names, and there's a one male identified and one female identified. At the very end, realizing that no matter what I did in writing this play, I was controlling the character.
Right.
I gave the um, actor, the female identified actor, this is in the script, the last word. So I finish, and then I'm like, and now and so that actor can literally say anything they want to at any performance. It's
Oh,
And then
cool.
that lights down. And so we did a reading of it at the Goodman, and the actor I wrote it for, Molly Brennan, because she was in my mind at the time. We
Mhm.
got to that point, and the first thing she said was, "I'm keenly aware of a straight, or not straight. I'm keenly aware of a cis white man giving me permission to speak freely." And it just it
Mm,
stabbed me because I'm like, perfect, perfect. That's exactly what I want with this play. So that was my thesis,
That's
and
incredible.
it was done with you know research and all the things that you do when you're in a grad program. And I
The
just love
Goodman's
that.
great. That's so cool.
Yeah,
What do you think about 10 Things I Hate About You? That's like the thing that's in my head now as as an adaptation.
I think it's fine. I think that that's one of them that didn't. I don't feel poorly about it, but I'm also not as dedicated to it as I think some people are.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
Bigger picture, I think that I'm not one of these playwrights or just people that feels like Shakespeare is a required part of our American theater canon or your literary education as a young person. I feel like
Mhm.
Shakespeare's great. I actually don't feel like Shakespeare's great. I think Shakespeare's fine. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think that we have to have it. I think you could get through your life without having read, you know, Cymbeline or whatever. But as a way to introduce young people to a very prolific historic writer, I think it's a great film. I think it's that as a tool, I think it's good.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer.
I have some, well, as you know, if you're theater people, we've gone through this whole thing with theater right now, and it is just falling apart. And I have this philosophy that I think that all of these theater companies, you know, what they should have done like 3 years ago was take their seasons and take all the dead white guys out of the season and replace them with writers of color, women, trans, whoever. And in that way, if they're dead white guys, they're not losing a gig, right? You can keep your
That
living.
estate's made the money. That those
Huh?
estates have made the money. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Eugene
Yeah.
O'Neill, he's fine. Um, and you know, we could also be buttressing these playwrights that maybe your audience base hasn't heard about, between the other stuff that they know, right? Like you get them in there, and then they come to the next one because they loved seeing Bye Bye Birdie or what have you.
Right.
Yeah, I've
Well,
got
that's
I've
always
got
been the
some.
way I feel like of this of your proper programming. I feel like you gotta have a nice mix. I think you've
Yeah.
gotta,
Hmm.
have the bread and cake, whatever, bread and
Hmm.
circuses, right? Gotta have it all.
Yeah, you
So,
definitely.
we asked you to pick a film to talk about today, and
Yes.
you picked a film from 1973 called Horror High. Tagline for this movie is delightful. There is something evil out there, possessed by a force that doesn't belong to this world, and it's going to kill me. This was written by Jake Fowler and directed by Larry N. Stouffer. Um, this boy is the most Julia boy to end all Julia boys. Like as soon as I saw, it, I was like,
Oh.
"Yeah, you don't know my
You
thing, but like this is my thing." And I was like, "Oh, there he is. That's mine."
you gave us, Sean, you gave us a list of, some movies that
Hmm.
you were recommending for us, and I, read Julia kinda got on a Zoom together, and I read the log lines to her basically of the movies, like a little bit of them, but then I saw the image of this boy, like, run across my screen. I was on the IMDb, and I was like, "Oh, we're doing this one." I, like, literally that was it. And I'm glad you agree, Julia, because as soon as I saw him, I was like, "This is for Julia. This is
Yeah,
for
he
you."
really
That
is. He
boy, literally, you if you could draw Julia's fictional dream boyfriend, that's
There he
him.
is. That's him. I mean,
Aw.
and so much like Edward from I Know What You Need in the adaptation that I did.
Mhm.
That's like that very similar nerd, but something's wrong kind of vibe.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he was like the real deal. Like he was a child actor that had like Pat Carty. He'd worked like so he actually, one of the things I like about this movie is that first of all it's an example of Texas filmmaking, which a lot of people don't realize that in the 1970s. Now we all know about like runaway production and like tax credits and Atlanta and all this stuff, but there was a really healthy regional filmmaking scene back in the 70s, and this is a prime example. If you look at the credits of the cast, they pop up in, the other stuff that was shot in Texas at the time. But yeah, Pat Carty, like carries
Adorable.
the film like as a decent performance, as do most of the actors in it. Yeah,
Is there
I'm a
is
fan.
there any attraction to him at all for you in this film? Was that ever when you saw it when you were a kid or anything? It's just my kind of thing.
um
Weirdo. I'm the
Interesting.
weirdo.
I know. I mean, he's cute. I mean, he's like they style him. Something that's interesting about this film is, they never talk about him being ugly, right? They never talk about him being hideous, and he's not like he doesn't have a bunch of acne, and he's not, greasy haired and all this stuff. He's actually kind of styled like, um,
Like a cool
you
kid
know,
in the '70s, but he's
yeah,
not
like Sean
cool.
Cassidy or something like
Yeah.
that.
With his
So,
little wave little of hair,
right,
waving this across my face. A little
yeah, yeah. So.
adorable.
I don't know if I
Mhm.
had that kind of attraction to him, but certainly the like bullied kid was, I mean, absolutely. Like
Mhm.
that was me. Um I,
Oh,
I
I'm
wasn't
sorry.
smart enough. I'm not smart enough to get out of stuff by doing the football quarterback's homework. But yeah, that was my high school was not fun. I mean, a lot of it was spent in that community theater and in my drama club, so that was okay. But like, yeah, I recognize that
The horror of
So
high school.
yeah.
Mhm.
guy.
So what did you see this movie? How old were you, and why did you pick this one specifically?
I saw it when I was probably somewhere in like middle school or freshman sophomore in high school. So that would have been late 80s, late 70s, early 80s, on television.
Nice.
And it has it has never left me. I I wish I would have thought this through a little bit more because the story I'm going to tell you. So there's a scene in the film where they chop somebody's head off with the paper cutter, right?
Ugh,
And it's so
so
dumb
good.
because
Mhm.
they set it up because is a teacher. The teacher's using the paper cutter in class for no
I call it
reason.
Chekhov's paper cutter, like, as soon as I
Exactly.
saw it, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, someone gonna use that, she's gonna
Yeah.
die that way, like,
Right.
she has to," and her name
Yeah.
is Grindstaff, I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay,
Yeah.
Mrs.
So
Grindstaff is gonna get grinded by that
she's gonna
staff,
Yeah.
she's gonna get it.
absolutely."
Yeah, and there's a moment where she's like scooting away from the killer, and she puts her hand on it, and it's just this is coming down the pike. But that genius moment when he brings the blade down, and we cut to the mannequin head hitting the ground,
Yeah.
right?
That cut was
And
spectacular.
that so good, so ridiculous, makes no sense. The police would not reenact the crime with a mannequin because that's what's revealed. We pull back and it's all the police like reenacting the crime while they're
Mhm.
wheeling her body out.
Yeah.
Makes no sense, but that stuck with me forever. And because it's such a great buildup to such a great payoff, that's not a payoff. And so much so that during pandemic, I spent my money on t-shirts and commissioning my friends who are artists to do portraits of characters in horror movies that people wouldn't think to have a portrait
Aw.
made of them. So I had my friend David King do a portrait of Miss Grindstaff, and he did her severed head, and it's photorealistic. It's beautiful. I don't know how much editing you do on these things, but I'll definitely send you
Send us
the
a
photo.
picture,
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
it's in my
at least
office.
share with Patreon, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I have a personal elementary school horror about those paper cutters because there
Yeah.
was one time when I was maybe like 3rd or 4th grade, and there was a girl who was using one of those big fucking honking things to carve her name into her arm. And she had gotten like halfway there, and we were coming back in from recess, and they're like leading her away, and like I'm like, what is happening? Like my brain could not compute, but like the thought of having to like position herself to do it, it's just like the most monstrous thing I could think of. So there you go. Now it's in
That's
your
pretty
brain
bad.
Wow.
too.
That's pretty
Wow.
bad, Julia.
Yeah. So
Man.
I was
that's what I think of when I see those paper cutters. I'm like, Jesus Christ. They're just like,
Yeah.
oof.
And what did we ever use them for? Like I
Well,
can't
my
even.
mom
Yeah.
was a teacher for over 30 years, used them all the time.
Okay.
You take their like, depending on, like, she'd do, her quizzes every Friday or whatever, and, like, you chop the little thing in half, and do a little half sheet quiz or whatever. Anyway, there's always reasons for them, and there was
Hmm.
remember they used to give you big sheets instead of little sheets? I also worked in a
Hmm.
stationery and paper store for about 20 years off and on,
Right.
and we used them there too, but they have the safety things on them now, and they're sliders now, so you
Right.
don't have to do the but that
Yeah.
was used many a paper cutter, but never thought about carving my name on my arm, so thank you for that, Julia.
Yeah.
I in 3rd grade, I never thought of that either. That was mind blowing to me. But I
That
do
is
remember thinking that she didn't finish. And what was she going to do
awful.
then?
Can we
What
give
was
it a
her
little
name?
moment?
Oh,
Oh,
we
sorry.
probably shouldn't say her name.
No.
No, look, can we give it a moment for the I was just trying to segue to the dreamy theme song that we have for this movie as well. Can we talk about
Yes.
the '70s being a key era for theme songs telling you
Hmm.
about the character? Vernon's theme,
Yeah.
incredible. Just
I think the soundtrack to this film actually is legitimately good. That
yeah.
song's a little like okay. It's fun in that it's like,
It's like Ice
but
Castles. I don't know. I think it's
yeah.
like got that same like vibe where you're like,
Mhm.
"Oh." And I was like, "Oh no, it's gonna be bad, isn't it? Because this song is way too cheerful."
I think that all the score stuff is really good. I actually was thinking about that during the rewatch. It's like, this doesn't sound like library needle drop. It sounds like stuff that was, made for the movie. It's one of the reasons why I like the movie. I think it's actually better than people think. And that's definitely one of the parts of it that I love is like the music isn't taking me out of it. In fact, I'm like, oh, all right, that's nice.
Mhm.
And it feels like
Vernon.
me like one of those movies where you say, like, okay, the director has a location. He has a school. Like, what can I do with this school? And I think
Hmm.
that's kind of fun when you have this restrictive script that you only have this location, but then it's very, very creative. And so it's, basically a young Jekyll and Hyde kind of situation. Um, but we never really get the like full Hyde reveal. I felt a little cheated about that.
Yeah, I did a little. research into Pat Carti and to the filmmakers, I interviewed them a million years ago, and
Oh,
there's some
wow.
cassette tape with their interview on it that I just never used. But they didn't have the time or the money to do like the full reveal or like the transition. Pat Carty
Right.
speaks specifically about how he's like, I'll come back, and we can shoot the transition from like me to
Mhm.
like the bad guy. And they're like, no, we just don't have the time. I do think that, you know, so much of this movie is shot in atmospheric darkness
Mhm.
that it kind of works, right? Like you never really see, so you have to use your imagination, right? You have to fill it in for yourself.
I was okay
I
with
get
it.
it.
I didn't even think about it. It didn't cross my mind watching it, which is interesting because I was just like, I don't know, maybe because I was also thinking about, like, this is a Sean movie, he's given us this task to watch this thing. I'm trying to figure out why, like, what is it about it, And, like, why is it specifically, I'm guessing it's queer in a way, in some fashion as well too. And I think it's because everything is done in shadow. It's like, "Oh, that's a brilliant metaphor," and feels very like something that a little queer kid would, like, glom onto because it's
Mhm,
like the things that are done in shadow, the things you can't see, the things you can't speak of, the version of yourself that no one actually knows, the version of yourself that no one actually really gets to see because everything that he does that's bad or considered bad is like in the shadows in this movie, right? And
mhm.
so that's what I thought. And that was my takeaway, my notes. So I didn't
Yeah.
really think about the transition because I was like, oh, this is brilliant because you don't really get to see,
Mhm.
you just see kind of like the remnants of
Mhm,
his behavior, which is mostly bloody, which is
mhm.
delightful. Yeah.
Well, and they don't have anybody reacting to how he looks
Mm-mm.
in a way that's shocking, that's shocked. The girl Robin, the popular
Mm-hmm.
girl, which by the way, let's give that actor a shout out. She was also in Don't Look in the Basement,
Yeah.
and
Her hair, fantastic.
Oh
yes,
yeah.
gorgeous, but also like not, like she genuinely cares about this guy. That's one of the other things I like about this movie is we could expect her to be mean. We could expect her to enjoy her boyfriend's meanness toward Vernon, but she
Her
doesn't.
football
She
playing boyfriend who
Yeah,
needs to be on
yeah.
the team next
She
year
defends
that
him.
yeah,
She
yeah.
does react to him in shock, but it's more, I feel like, just his like murderous attitude,
Well,
which
yeah,
I,
because she thought he was a sweetheart, right? She talked about that.
yes.
She's like, she's like, "You're nicer than everyone else, like, there's something about you." And then when
Yeah.
his niceness leaves, that's the transformation that she wasn't
Mhm.
prepared for.
But
Yeah.
can I ask, what do you think, after he's forced to drink the potion the first time, right? And this is
Mhm.
what turns him to the monster. But from then on, he's making that decision consciously to do that.
Mhm.
Why do you think that he continues to do it?
Well, again, I hate to beat the bully drum, but as a person that was, on the receiving end of bullying in high school, so much so that I put my bully's name in every play I wrote that needed a villain, like that shit sticks with you.
Freddy Krueger did.
And
Nice job.
yeah, and I I remember after high school, hearing about horrible things that young people would do at schools. And it would always come out that they'd been bullied. And it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't condone that, but boy, do I understand it. Boy, do I understand being driven to anger and to lashing out. And then all anybody sees is that moment that, I've taught in high school. So I know that like teachers, for all of their like dedication to the job, miss that stuff or just don't do stuff. I went to my teachers in high school and I like begged them to take me out of classes with this guy. Just didn't happen. And had I been well, I'm just going to reveal something that I've never revealed to anybody.
Ooh,
um, I wrote in my diary in high school that I planned to go back to my high school reunion with a baseball bat and find
wow.
that guy. He made me so miserable. And so I understand, and I didn't do that. Although he did turn up in our Facebook group. I
Ooh,
blocked him.
yeah.
Yeah. But so that for me is anytime I see anything about bullying, it's sort of a genre of like the bullied pranked kid who then turns around and turns into the villain because he's getting back at all the bullies. And it's a real like 180 that filmmakers make us do to, like, you know, to put that kid in a villain category in those type of movies. And I think
Versus
the people,
revenge. Yeah.
right, right,
Yeah.
Like Christine or something like that, right? Like this.
yeah. And even if it's revenge, it's like, well, but that's too much. You know what I mean? Like, people that haven't been bullied are like, oh, no, 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 that's too much. People that have been bullied are like, go Carrie. You know?
Mhm.
So I think if you ask like why this movie like resonates with me so much, it's both that it's really just really well done. It's like actually scary and well shot and well acted, and but it's also, it's a high school experience that I think a lot of us have. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Still was fascinated by each, like, of the teachers kind of, like, their place in this as well too, like, between, like, the coach, like, wanting to use him,
Hmm.
in this fashion, like, having him try to, like, the coach ask our dear Vernon to actually let Roger, his friend's, like, boyfriend, like, copy off of him, and, like,
Hmm.
then the other teacher who says he's not working hard enough, it's like the teacher says you're working too hard, basically. Teacher's like, "You're not working hard enough." And then, each one of those interactions, or sorry, I'm sorry, Mrs. Grindstaff also, like, not letting him graduate. It's, like, the one thing that makes him feel, like, trapped in a town. I was
Hmm.
like, "This creepy little kid, he's obsessed with this little thing. Let him go to college so he can do that thing, but if you don't let him graduate, you're gonna try to keep him stuck there." I was like, "Oh, that's, I think, also a whole 'nother, like, conversation of just, like, that feeling that kinda trapped in that kind of a space where it's
Hmm.
like his dad is already was it they said his dad is out on the town and his mom is dead. So this kid has literally nothing, and this is, like, the one thing he's glommed onto, and they're trying to take
Hmm.
all of that away from him too.
Hmm.
So, I feel like he was that would make me drink the thing, I guess, maybe again
Yeah.
too, feeling like, "Hey, if I'm gonna get rid of this lady, like, so I can get out of this town, get me out of this
Hmm.
place," right?
Hmm.
Justice for Mr. Mumps.
Justice for
Mr.
Mr. Mumps, the
Mumps.
guinea pig. Oh my god. The
I mean,
inciting incident.
I know, but also the cat. Like, I have
Yeah.
cats, and I don't like cat peril. So even though the
No,
janitor was mean, I didn't want his cat to die.
Yeah, the cat's gonna die and the
no.
guinea pig's gonna die in this one. So sorry,
Yeah,
folks.
right.
Sorry,
All their bones
folks.
will be mixed together.
In that big
Yeah,
tub that you
And
keep in the
sulfuric
corner of your
acid.
science classroom.
Mhm.
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Perfect.
Always.
yeah. So yeah, it's funny because it is. These movies that for me anyway, have like Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things and this one are two that have imprinted on me so hard that for different reasons that uh, I I don't know, it informs my idea, perspective, opinion, whatever word you want to use, of I don't think any of us can ask another person. I don't think any of us have standing to ask another person to give up a movie or a piece of art that is imprinted on them, right? Like, there's a lot of debates about certain terrible people in the world right now. And like, I am not going to give these people, I'm not going to say their names, like another dime of my money.
Right.
But if that's the thing that I have a movie that by one of not the people you're probably thinking of that got me through like the worst times when I'd moved to Chicago and literally had no money and was like steps from being like unhoused. But I had a
Mhm.
VHS of this four movies and I would watch them over and over and it's like got me through the night. And I can't and won't give that up, right? Because it
Mhm.
imprinted on me. So these are movies I think that are sort of not that there's anything wrong with the two movies that I just Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things or this one
Mhm.
really, but it maybe my living in the past as hard as I do, it's to my detriment. But I just have what's the word I'm looking for? Empathy for people for whom problematic art is so important. I just made that up. I just
Yeah.
said those words. I've never said them before.
Yeah.
Recorded forever here
Right,
I think we
now.
I
exactly.
think we were
But
talking about that last week when we met up for a little bit and just,
yeah.
like, thinking about those things that still, were formative for us that we have a
Hmm.
different relationship with, and I was actually chatting with another friend about that the other day. There's certain, like, artists and people who have since passed on that, that were really seminal, I think, for both of us in different ways, and One of them, she still continues to interact with her stuff, and I have one that she doesn't interact with. We both have our like kind of lines. I said it's so weird. Our brains are so weird, though. Of just like certain things that some of us can still intake that information
Mhm.
or enjoy that thing and be able to separate it, and some of us can't. And sometimes it's the same freaking piece of art, but it's
Mhm.
just for whatever reason, whatever our personal, lines and veils, so to speak, are,
Mhm.
of what we can handle. Um, it's different. So I
Mhm.
never, I'm like, I'm not down on somebody who still enjoys, whatever problematic piece of art that it is, because I have my own little like, that one's okay, that one's not okay, that one like sometimes our brains
Mhm.
are so weird.
Mhm.
Some of them we can handle, and some of them we can't. And that's okay.
And it's
But I love that
inconsistent.
having empathy for that too. It is
Sure.
inconsistent. So
Yeah.
like
I
I
think
DJ and I get requests a lot for certain artists, and I'm just like, "Ugh, I don't play that." Like, if some I just don't, like, I won't. I'm like, if I'm at work, I don't have to do that. But,
right. Yeah, it's Hannah Gadsby, they did an entire special about
mhm.
art and
Yes, it
how
was
the great
great.
masters were all terrible people.
All of them.
And for them, that means I cannot consume this art. But for other people, they can still consume that art for whatever
Mhm,
reasons. Like, I'm not even going to judge or try to figure it out. And I think the key is understanding that everybody has their own line in the sand. And even if it's not yours, them having that does not make them at their core a bad person. It makes them at their core an introspective person who has, done the cost benefit analysis of keeping this thing in their life. And it comes down to it's better for them if they do. And so, you know, I don't know. I think this panel that we're about to do,
mhm,
which was that conversation we had, which is about problematic films, I think it's more about the premise of this panel is like us, a bunch of queer people defending movies that maybe we wouldn't have, or other people would think we wouldn't. And I think really what it comes down to is like modeling behavior that shows that a movie does not have to go to movie jail just because there's a part of it that does not pass muster for us. You can learn something from even the worst movie. I remember there was a movie called Salo.
Hmm.
Um, and the first time I saw it was ages ago, and I had a very poncy boyfriend, and I just could not. This movie, I was just like, I said to him, I've never said that there's a piece of art that is worthless. And before I could get the next words out of my mouth, he's like, don't do it, don't do it. And I just jumped in. But that movie, I was just so incensed by it.
uh,
And now I love it. I, 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 I just, it is a hard watch, but I understand why now. And so I think, that's when we talk about these things, time and distance and experience are a river flowing. And so it's going to be a different experience every time you dip in. So
So we like to ask all of our guests how they would survive the horror movie that they recommended. So how do you survive horror high?
be nice to Vernon.
Yeah, be nice to people. This is a great one. All you got to do to survive is be nice. I was like, that's pretty easy, guys. Pretty
Be
easy.
nice.
Everyone should be able to do that.
Yeah, be nice. I think, uh, bullying is so different now. Like back in my day, old school bullying was just like at high school, like between the hours of 8 and 3:30. That was when that was
yeah,
happening.
now
And
people be
now,
online doxing people and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's
right, you
insane.
you can bully somebody in another country without even doing
Yeah.
anything. So it does feel a little like, grandma's home recipe bullying to
No, but it's
talk
pretty
about the
bad. Like, I
yeah.
mean, between the teacher cutting up his work and not letting him pass, between those guys literally taking his notes that he spent a whole summer working on and destroying his like, I mean, all his results. That hurt my heart. Anyway, it was a lot.
Yeah. And and then the push and pull of being a gay kid and seeing like those hot football players, I'm not gonna lie. And that coach played
Mhm.
by John Nyland, who was an actual like NFL football player,
Just
and in this
yoked.
film is literally like if you
Mhm.
were to write a computer program and say, spit out a fantasy gym coach,
Extra
figure.
beefy.
Oh
Do it.
God, it would be
Mm.
him. Oh
Yeah.
my Lord. Yeah.
Well, I always
So
have a
yeah.
thing. We always talk about on the podcast, like the cute boy killer is my downfall. That's where I go.
Yeah.
Like, so I would definitely be
You'd be
finished.
dead.
I'd be done.
Sorry, Julia,
I
you
don't know.
don't
Robin
survive
was
this
okay.
one.
Yeah, he wasn't mean to Robin. He didn't
As
kill, he
long as you
ran
were
away.
nice. That's true. As long as you were nice, Julia,
I
you would be
try to be
nice to
nice.
him. You'd be very
So
nice to him.
tell us where people can be nice to you on the internet, Sean. Where can they find you?
Well, I'm gay of the dead kind of everywhere. So, the Blue Sky and the Instagram and Facebook, and I'm hanging on Twitter. I don't really post there very much. I have a Patreon that's also named Gay of the Dead, where I'm rolling up my next book, which is going to be interviews with LGBTQ filmmakers that work in horror. That's sort of an extension of
Cool.
my old, yeah, it's sort of an extension of my old book, my previous book, out in the dark. But it's going to be much bigger, many more interviews. So that's where I'm working right now. Yeah, that's well, and also the theater thing. I'll just mention this really quickly. I founded a playwriting retreat called Desert Playwrights Retreat, which is for LGBTQ playwrights, fully funded. Lots of just Google that in my name and you'll find it.
Yeah, it's very
It's
cool.
the
I'm on
other
the
thing
mailing
I
list.
do.
That's so cool, Sean. Thank you
I
so much
love
for
that.
talking to us today.
Thank you for
Uh,
having me.
of
Yeah, and you can
course.
find us on the internets all over, at Horror Movie Survival Guide, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the places. Join our Patreon as well. Help us keep making beautiful video content for you as well here on YouTube. Like, follow, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Tell a friend. Help us build the channel. We appreciate your support. You can also catch Julia at Not One, Not Two, almost 3 other shows. Got to talk about at least 2 of those other podcasts that you
I
do
know.
without me, and another one with me. So that's exciting too. Julia
I
has
do.
the Losers
I do talk
Club.
even more in depth about Stephen King than I already do on here in the Losers Club podcast, and I am also doing Jodorowsky, which is all about Alejandro Jodorowsky and his works in comics and films. And then we also do a show with the George A. Romero Foundation called Horror X, where we talk to women and femmes in horror about horror. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening and watching today, and check out all of Sean's cool stuff. Check out his book. We will see
And
you
watch
next
Horror
time.
High if you haven't
watch
yet.
Horror
Check
High.
it out. Oh my God. Yeah, get scared. All right. Thanks, guys, so much. Have a beautiful day. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Horror Movie Survival Guide is independently produced by Teri Gamble, Julia Marchesi, and Sierra Ryan. Hey, that's me. If you would like to support the show, find us on patreon.com/horror movie survival guide.